Hey everyone, welcome to the broadcast. All right, today we're talking about the 3 tips to having difficult conversations. Hey guys. All right, so difficult conversations, they are a way of life, right? We all have to have them. We all have things that need to be said that we really don't want to say. And first I want to dive into how difficult conversations make you feel, okay? They're not fun most times, right? They just, like, how do they make you feel inside? You're just like, I don't want to say it. I don't want this conflict, right? Some of us fear conflict completely. And we're like, I really don't want to open this can of worms. And, it brings up hurt feelings. I think a lot of times from childhood, right? Where it's like we were talked over, what we say isn't important, what we want doesn't matter. So we have some limiting beliefs around all of that stuff anyway. And the fact of the matter is we don't want to be hurt, and we don't want to hurt other people either. We just don't. So something I need to tell you guys is we're always listening through filters, okay? So every time we have a conversation, sometimes we're not actually hearing what's being said because we're listening through our own filters, okay? So what are filters? Like your inner wounds, okay? So if your mom or dad always talked over you and it's like, you don't have anything important to say, you shouldn't be talking, you don't know what you're talking about, right? We listen through those, and then we assume that other people think the same thing of us, okay? Any kind of inner wound that we have, it could be that we don't feel important. It could be that we don't feel like we're enough, right? So what we feel we have to say won't be received appropriately or how we intend for it to be received, okay? So a lot of times I do find that these filters are just inner wounds, okay? And trusting ourselves. Maybe we had a conversation that was difficult and it was going okay, and then that person essentially heard it through their filters and overreacted, right? So we end up getting this kind of, we've been burned with some difficult conversations. Some of them are okay, and it's like, and we never know what it's going to be like. So I have 3 tips for this, guys, because this is really important, and we're all going to have difficult conversations, even though they're not fun, okay? So first and foremost, I need you to acknowledge your filters, okay? So what are those filters for you? Somebody came up to you and said, I don't think that this is your best work. Okay, what does that bring up for you? What did you hear them say? Is it that, oh my God, I'm not enough, they don't like me, I'm never going to be any good at anything? Like, what is it that you're hearing from them? Okay, this is not about you, right? They just said, this isn't quite right for what I need right now, or this isn't your best work. Can you make some improvements? And they might have some valid, critiques for it that might help it on its way, okay? Or it might not be what they anticipated. It has nothing to do with you. It's everything about this work. But what are the filters that you're listening through? What are the things that trigger you? Okay. Like I said, a lot of this is inner wounds. They can be traced back quite a while. And it's stuff that we all have and we all have to deal with. So acknowledge that you have these inner wounds that create the filters over your ears, right? I always think about the filter over your ear and what is it coming through? If somebody's criticizing me for something, I'm thinking, okay, well, there's my filter of I'm not being enough, and there's this filter of this, right? So by the time it actually makes it to my brain to figure out what they're saying, I've completely construed it into something totally different, okay? Acknowledge your filters and understand that other people have them too. Okay, so even if you were to say, oh, okay, how would you suggest that I change this? And then that person has a filter that feels like they do everything, okay? They always have to do everything themselves, right? You get those kinds of filters. And they're like, well, I'm not going to change it for you. I'm not going to, and then they get so confrontational and angry. And this is their own filters. It has nothing to do with you, okay? These are all just filters in our head. Okay, and they change the message that you're getting. Okay, so acknowledge that you have them and acknowledge that the person that you're talking to has them too. Okay, step 2, set intentions for that conversation. Okay, and this is important because what is it that you're wanting? Okay, I'm going to relate this to my own life. When I had a difficult conversation with my dad, I was actually telling him that I was forgiving him, and this was a difficult conversation for me. that I had done a lot of inner work and I was forgiving him for all the crappy stuff that he did when I was a child. And so if I would have entered that conversation, like I really spent a lot of time on my intention for this and whether I should do it or not, okay? So when I was deciding my intention, what I did was I realized that I don't need anything from him except for him to hear that I have forgiven him even though he didn't ask for it, okay? I had no expectation. I didn't expect him to say, oh my gosh, April, that's so great. Let's start getting together on the weekends. Or I didn't expect him to start calling me more, okay? Which is good because he didn't, okay? So what is the intention behind it and what do you want them to hear, okay? What do you want them to get? What do you is this about your positioning on an issue or you just wanting to let people know where you stand on it? Do you want them to understand your side of a story? Are you searching a happy medium between two ideas between you? Okay, what is your intention with this conversation? And be open in this conversation, okay? Don't get this my way or the highway stance, because if you bring the energy like, okay, I'm going to bull my way through this and you're going to listen to my side of the story and you're going to either like it or not like it, and I'm going to be, reactive and all that. If you bring that to the table, they're going to feel that energy. They're going to be like, whoa, okay. So they're either going to step up and be like, oh, you're not going to boss me around, right? And they're bringing the same exact energy that you're bringing. Or the other person's going to be like, you know what? This isn't how I talk. This isn't what I do. Okay, so it's all going to depend. You've got to clear yourself out, clear your heads, clear your ideal, right, of everything that you have, and just be open and receptive to what comes, knowing that you have an intention. This will be a successful conversation if, and for me, in my case, it was if he hears me that I have forgiven you. If I have said those words, I was happy with that conversation. Okay, what is a success for that conversation? All right, and this is not your way or their way or whatever. Okay, this is what is your intention with this conversation. Okay, so the first was acknowledge that you have filters and they have filters. The second was setting intention. Third and final is to listen. Okay, listen to what they're saying. Try to understand their side, their point. Try to actually hear the words that they're saying and not through the filters, okay? Now, a really good way, something that I do often, is saying back to them what I hear you say is. What I hear you saying is that you weren't happy with my work. What I hear you say is that this piece didn't make your expectations. Okay, whatever it is, whatever that conversation is, what I hear you say. Okay, and the importance of that is, one, because it pulls out your filters. Okay, because it's like, okay, task at hand, this is what I heard. Two, like if this is a spouse, right? If my husband is trying to talk to me about something and I get defensive, okay, or I'm like, oh my gosh, she doesn't think I'm a good wife. I'm not worthy of this kind of love. Whatever it is that I'm like creating in my crazy head, it ends up just completely dividing the conversation and nothing gets accomplished. Okay. If I were to actually listen to him, I would have realized that what he was actually saying was, I need this done. Okay. Or whatever it is. So listening and understanding what they're saying and not making it personal. This is not about me. We get caught up in our own world sometimes, in our own head, and we feel like everything's about us and it's not. So what I hear you say is, and if it's somebody that you are in an intimate relationship with, be it a friend or, a lover or whatever, a lot of times you can say, I hear what you're saying. Okay. I hear you said this. And right now my filters are going crazy and I'm hearing I'm not good enough, that you don't love me, that, whatever the case may be, these are what my filters are saying. And my head is on fire right now because I'm feeling a little angry about this. And they can be like, oh crap, no. This just needs to be done. I wasn't even saying you needed to do it. Or, like a lot of times what we hear through our filters is not real anyway. Okay. So be honest about it if you do have this intimate relationship. If you don't, if this is a boss or somebody, really try to work on hearing them listen. You want them to listen to you. Okay. So you need to listen to them too. Hear what they're saying. And what I have found most times, okay, is that you're agreeing. Most people are agreeing with the same thing, or like they agree on pieces of it, and that's something that you can build on. Okay, so it's all sometimes with all the filters going on, like it's just like I can't hear you because of these filters, and they can't hear you because of these filters, and you're really saying the same darn thing. Okay, you just have to stop yourself from this negative spiral and listen and be present and be like, you know what, my intention was to come here and just make sure you heard me, and that I'm being heard. And, if we can resolve this conflict, if we can come to a happy medium, whatever the case may be, that's great. But you will really find that a lot of times, one person just gets triggered and one gets louder and starts yelling. Or this person gets triggered and they completely shut down and run off. Okay. And then you find out you both wanted the same thing. But through the filters, you couldn't receive it. Okay. So really be open to that, and knowing that a lot of times, people really do want to do the right thing, and if they can't get out of their own negative spiral, that's not your issue. That's theirs. That's how they, deal with conflict. Okay. And that's their issue. It's not yours. You did what you could. You did the mature, responsible thing. And that's it. You did what you can. So just take the time to understand what it is, their side. And, I don't think we need to dread this. Okay. It's not always fun. It's not always comfortable. Some of us have past wounds that it's hard anyway. So just, open yourself up and be like, okay, we're going to wing it and see how it goes. Okay. So again, 3 tips to difficult conversations. 1 is to acknowledge the filters of you and them. 2, set intentions for the conversation so that you know when it's successful. Okay. 3 is to listen and understand. Start using terms like what I hear you say is, so that they have a chance to let you know if you misheard something, or they have a chance to clarify, because sometimes they think they're being clear on what they're saying and they're really not at all. Okay. What I hear you say is really important. Okay. So that is it for today. You can find me at AprilJoelson.com. I have links in my bios for my Facebook group as well. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.